we have got some very creepy similarities to some extremely bullish patterns that Bitcoin has formed in the past that could potentially take us all the way up to $100,000. I'm going to be talking to you about all of that in this YouTube video, but before we get to that, let's look at the short-term chart, and Bitcoin is continuing to find support exactly where we want it to. And what I really like is if we take a look at traditional finance very quickly, which we know has a big impact on crypto, we have now seen the S&P 500 reach the exact target that I was telling you I'm expecting for a very long time. So smash up those fucking likes, ladies and gents, if you are watching that analysis. If you've been subscribed to this YouTube channel since I've been telling you for like 3-4 months, guys, that I'm expecting the S&P 500 to reach this resistance level, it has now finally happened. And this is absolutely great news because, as we know, strength in traditional finance translates into strength into Bitcoin, okay? And we've seen that relationship continuously proven across weeks and months. What I don't mind is if on the short-term chart, 1-day time frame, 4-hour time frame, whatever, if the correlation is weak, right? Because right now the correlation is weak. S&P 500 shooting up to new highs, Bitcoin still kind of stuck where it is, right? The correlation is weak right now. But long-term, we zoom out, this is a really, really good perspective. This is a really, really good place for traditional finance and as a result for crypto, because if we're seeing strength there, that strength does spill over into crypto, okay? So that is a really, really strong point, and this is just an incredibly strong chart. I want to give a huge shout out to everyone that took advantage of what's been going on here. I've been talking about this continuously, and of course, you guys have been able to trade it on BingX using the link in the description as well. So huge shout outs to those of you that have actually been able to take advantage of this right here on BingX. There's no KYC. They're not going to ask you for a picture of yourself or your ID. You could trade traditional finance. You could trade Tesla, Apple, Amazon, Google, all with leverage. It is absolutely crazy. All these other markets just with a Bitcoin deposit. Absolutely insane. Well worth checking out. Bybit up to 30k in bonuses as well if you just want to trade crypto. Definitely get yourself signed up. But let's move back to the chart here and talk about where this could take the S&P 500. I mean, there's no more resistance now until we hit this next high, which is another 7% move up. And if that does happen, I have to imagine that, you know, Bitcoin's going to get dragged up with it. And this is the thing with Bitcoin right now, right, is that we're still holding on to where we are right now, but it's not actually super easy to analyze. I mean, if we look at, for example, like this chart right here, I'm just showing you the 4-hour Ichimoku cloud and how, like, a lot of the time when the market just does nothing for a while, these, you know, short-term indicators become irrelevant. I mean, you know, now we've just lost our, you know, our green cloud is gone. We formed the green cloud, and now the green cloud is already closed up and it's about to turn into resistance again. And so none of our indicators on the short-term time frames make sense anymore, and that is exactly why this is the perfect time to just zoom the fuck out. Just zoom out, bro, and look at what we're actually playing with, all right? Because this is what a lot of bad traders don't do, and it's exactly why they're bad traders, is that they stay stuck on really small time frames because they're fucking degenerate gamblers that just feel like they need to click buttons to make money. I mean, it is no different to sitting at a slot machine. It is no better. In fact, it's probably worse because at least a gambler in a casino is honest with themselves about being stupid. But out here, you actually think you're smart when you're doing this dumb shit. So you're definitely worse than them if you're that guy. And what these people fail to do is that when the market becomes hard to analyze on the short-term time frames, they stay there. They keep trading it. They keep trying to make they're trying to make 15 different decisions when the market is doing nothing. The market hasn't moved in a few months here, you know, basically since the middle of March, and I don't know how many trades you've fucking made in this time frame, but it's obviously probably been a bad idea because I know you haven't made any money in this range, right? Because you can't, because the market isn't moving, right? This kind of price section is where you make money. That's where I made my $200,000 profit, and I'm still in this position right now. That's where you make the money. You don't make the money by, you know, trading these weird little moves here because you're just not going to get them right. And so this is what bad traders do, right? Is they just continuously stay on the small time frames. But what I want to do and what I want to direct you to are these longer time frames here, like the 1-day time frame. We've got a beautiful bullish pattern here that bleeds directly into a 1-day Ichimoku cloud, and it has a really interesting 13% target. Now, what's interesting about this 13% target is that we had a very similar situation back in 2020. This is the chart that Bitcoin produced when Bitcoin pumped up to $12,000 and returned to 9K before blasting off, absolutely blasting off, up towards $64,000. What happened was we fell into a green Ichimoku cloud on the daily time frame. We formed a bullish pattern in the cloud, all right? Does this ring a bell? We fell into the cloud with a bullish pattern. All right, over here we fell into the cloud with a bullish pattern. The target was a 13% pump upwards, and it's fair to say, I don't know if you disagree with me, that Bitcoin definitely exceeded this 13% target and just absolutely blasted off. And it's just really interesting that we have the same numbers and the same situation developing now at a time where people are just losing perspective of the realities in this market. If we refresh the 4Flies dashboard right here, and keep in mind what's going on. Granted, we have a ridiculous long and short ratio where retail just seems to be getting it right, apparently, with 2.4 long positions for every short. And this is the only thing that's problematic, is that we have way too many retail traders. That would be right if the market does move up, and that can be a very clear, strong indication that actually the market is going to do the complete opposite and take itself in the other direction here. But it is still important data, and it is still interesting data to consider here, because I think it is quite clear that we are forming quite similar things to what we've done in the past that have resulted in nice pumps up, but we might just not be ready to deal with that yet. This is the kind of, and this is what I want to get across to you guys in this YouTube video, is like, yeah, there are some beautiful opportunities here, and my god, being able to trade something like this would be absolutely huge, because if it does break out just by 13%, that in itself is a really nice gain with a bit of leverage. But if it goes higher than 13%, and I've been talking to you guys about, like, if I've been saying if Bitcoin can get up to 30k, I definitely think that we can significantly exceed it and get way higher. Like if that's the case, like a 5x leverage trade, and it turns into like a 13% profit, you're already making close to 75% profit just with that move, and that's before a bigger breakout even comes. It can definitely be quite a lot of money to be made in this market with these kind of breakouts, and that is looking really good. And again, I do want to highlight that if you are interested in trading on these in these markets, then definitely use the links down below to get all these bonuses. There's over 70k in bonuses you're going to get when you sign up using my link, so it's just well worth checking out while the market is a little bit slower. Get those bonuses and have them ready for yourself. When the market is hot, it's served many of you guys very, very well. So if you do want to kind of jump on that train, if you haven't done so already, or if you already have, you can make a new account and still take advantage of these offers. They are well worth considering. What I do want to highlight to you, aside from this, and we will come back to this in just a sec, is how we're looking on the long term. This is really what I want to take the time to focus on today. It's like, while everyone's still stuck on the fucking 15-minute time frame and looking at, like, the really close, intricate details of Bitcoin, we've had a time to cool off here. We have been consolidating at a high. We've been doing things that, like, we can understand where the market is, just with this daily time frame. It's clearly in an uptrend. It's clearly in a bullish pullback. It's clearly at a support level, basically ready to pump up. None of these things mean that Bitcoin has to go up to $100,000 now. But what it does mean is that we have the setup. And it looks really good. It looks really healthy. We have the setup to take Bitcoin higher into the 30k range. That does not mean we're going to use it. That does not mean that the price is actually going to pump, but it means that the factors we need are going in our favor right now, and that is the best we're going to get, all right? Because we're not dealing with definites. If something like this was definite, we would already be pumping up like a motherfucker right now, okay? That's what happens when the market has obvious moves. When the market has obvious moves, the market moves very quickly. When the market has a little bit of indecision and it's a little bit more open to interpretation, that's when we start trading sideways and equilibriums, all right? You need to understand the language of these markets. What this is telling you is everybody's super bullish on the market while we're trending up, and now people are kind of unsure, so we're just slowly trending down, and people are slowly kind of selling off their Bitcoin. People are slowly getting a little bit more scared overall. That's why we're setting lower lows and lower highs, right? What's happening here? This is really important, right, to just kind of understand how the market actually functions, because if you don't get this, you'll always be a victim of it. What happened here at the low is that people were like, all right, I was selling my Bitcoin on this drop, but I don't want to sell anymore because this is a support level and I think I can get a better exit. And they were right. But what happens the next time? The next time we get down to this level, those same sellers or different sellers are like, you know what? People sold down here, but this time I'm still a little bit scared. I want to get out of the market. I don't care if I'm going to get a worse entry level. I'm willing to trade this price even lower. So the price drops even lower. This shows us that people at this point were more scared than they were at the same support level a week or two before. And that just shows us that over time, the effect that time is having is it is making people scared. It is making people worried. It is making people become worse traders. It is making people just kind of lose perspective of what's going on as we fall directly into critical areas of support. While we have the bullish backdrop of traditional finance looking extremely strong. The S&P 500 setting a brand new high here, breaking out and reaching a target that the S&P 500 has not hit for 290 days, all right, coming up to a year. We're like 9-10 months since we've been at this level before for the S&P 500. You're telling me this isn't a fucking bullish environment? Are you fucking kidding me? I don't care what interest rate news you have that tells you that the economy is going to crash in 6 months from now and the whole world is going to fucking explode, just like you were worried about the debt ceiling, you know, and other stuff like that. You know, like, none of these things actually happen, but what does happen is these markets are in clear trends and we can understand them and we can try and put ourselves in the right place to make money, while the other people that think too much, that are too far down the fucking bell curve of IQ, that just constantly apply all their thinking power into not making any fucking decisions and just thinking all the time and being poor, like, we're going to exceed what they're performing at. We're going to outperform them, and what we're going to do is simply just look for the high probability setups, ignore the noise, and deploy our money into the market, exactly as I've been able to do with this position, and exactly as I'm demonstrating for VIP members every time I trade, to show them how I'm trading, right? Every single trade that I make, with all the details of considerations that I take, so on and so forth, are posted inside of VIP by following these steps on screen right here. So if you are interested in joining to see how I'm trading these markets, you can do that by following these links. It is well worth checking out, and it puts you in a direct chat with me as well. Yearly members, of course, also get phone calls with me, which is an extremely powerful addition to the packages. They're well worth considering and checking out. Short-term chart, look, we've got the same area of resistance here that we're battling against right now. Bitcoin right now, as I speak to you, is pumping up there right now, you know, and so this 27.4 level is going to be the level to break. It is the bottom of this green box, basically. I should probably actually stretch this down because the green box is a little bit too high, so it should actually come down to about over here. All right, so this is kind of the next area of resistance that Bitcoin's going to be facing. If we are able to get above that, then again, I mean, you know the deal. You've heard me for a while. You've been subscribed to this YouTube channel, so I don't need to repeat that. But, you know, these resistance levels, you know, that they are still here. This one in particular, this yellow channel, is getting lower and lower as time goes on, okay? So this could definitely provide some sort of a challenge for Bitcoin. But the good news is we have been hitting these resistance levels so many times now over these last few weeks that, you know, you have to expect that at some point these resistance levels do start to break. They have already started to show cracks with this pump right here, so a subsequent pump could definitely take Bitcoin even higher. Again, the thing that just really unsettles me about all of this is that the long and short ratio is too damn high right now, and typically when the long and short ratio is something like this, it does mean that the market needs to reset in some way, and a lot of the time, if the long and short ratio is too extreme on the long side, it does mean that the price has to come down, right? And if it does come down again, support still sits at 25k. And when we really zoom out and kind of look at what this price action is actually telling us, none of these drops would actually be meaningful on the long-term scale for Bitcoin. But what it would do is it would flush out this leverage from dumb money that on this occasion just happens to be getting it right, and you know, and then the market can move up. And that's what happens all the time, right? I mean, that's exactly what happened right here. Everybody was very bullish here. Nobody was bullish here. That's why I went long over here, you know, because I don't want to go long when people are bullish. I want to go long when people are fucking bearish, all right? I don't want to be trading the direction that everybody else is anticipating. I don't want to be in agreement with the comment section of my own YouTube videos. I'm not interested in that kind of stuff. I'm a trader. I'm here to make money. I'm not here to make friends. I'm not here to fucking stand in a circle and hold your hand and be in agreement with you and sit in a fucking Telegram community and talk about some shitcoin pumping. I am here to look for deviations. I'm here to expect them, trade them to the upside. If something needs to be traded to the downside, I'm going to make that trade too and rip these gains to make some fucking money in these markets, right? Get ready for the bull market. That's it. That's the energy I'm carrying forward right here, ladies and gents. This is just straight, no bullshit analysis. If you do appreciate it, do me a favor and smash up those likes. If we come back to this chart here, what this shows us very clearly is that Bitcoin has traded in some really nice ascending parallel channels all the way back to 2012, and these have been really bullish for Bitcoin. You know, what happens is we just kind of be slowly trading upwards. Then something happens, some explosion, some, you know, event, and then the price just explodes out of these channels, right? You can see that really clearly. These channels, you know, provide some really nice ascending price action for Bitcoin. Some momentum just kind of shifts, and the market just explodes upwards from there. Okay, and so we are in the same situation right now. And again, this is really important to keep in mind, right? A lot of people are just not able, they're not capable of maintaining perspective on things like this. This is inherently extremely bullish. The fact that we're still setting higher lows and higher highs, it is a strong sign. Does it mean that Bitcoin can still come down, you know, from here and just, you know, trade towards 7k, 10k, whatever? Of course, super possible. Any of these possibilities can happen. But if you look at what's happened previously with the same setups, this has historically been very good for Bitcoin. And We are doing the same thing right now. If we take a look at this chart, which is very interesting, and it's where we get the 100k target from, it just shows us with these curved lines, which, by the way, I do want to point out, this is not the most reliable way to do analysis. These curved lines are so easy to manipulate. They are so easy to just bend and get them right to fit your narrative. So they're just not very technical, in my opinion. They're not very objective, ways to do analysis, in my opinion. But what they are interesting for is just showing you that overall, when we are hitting, major lows within these long-term markets, we do get right back up to that top yellow line, yeah? And if we do end up doing that kind of by the end of this year, that would put us at a $98,000 Bitcoin. Definitely something that you cannot just rule out, because you wouldn't, you ruled out Bitcoin coming to 15k when we were up here, and now you're ruling out Bitcoin getting to 100k when we're down here, okay? You need to be open to these possibilities. Most of them will not happen, but if you're not even open to these possibilities, and if they happen like this right here, you're going to be completely blindsided by it, right? I mean, I told you guys how, a super famous story that I've been sharing with you guys of how I sold my Bitcoin up at these tops here, specifically this top actually, around here, to buy a house, by selling my Bitcoin, because I don't want to be the guy that's buying at the top and selling at the bottom. All right, I want to be doing the opposite, because I want to actually make money, and then when I've made that money, I want to lock in those gains and keep those profits as well, right? That's exactly what I'm preaching on this YouTube channel. It's just a very realistic, kind of scope on technical analysis, because we are traders that are genuinely ripping trades in these markets as we go on right now. What that means is that we just have realistic perspectives, all right? You can't be peddling bullshit if you're trading in these markets, because you'll just very quickly be wiped out, okay? And the way you don't get wiped out, the way you stay in the market, is by being sensible and actually focusing on the things that matter. So that's what I'm trying to bring forward with you on this YouTube channel. And yeah, some quite exciting targets here, quite frankly, guys. I mean, it's also really interesting, the time frames, right? If you look at like when the market was at the bottom yellow line and how long it took to get to the top one, right, from the point that we start trending upwards, a lot of the time we were finding similar kind of time frames. From here, right here, we're looking at like a 330-day move, right, from this low up to this high. It's not perfect. It's pretty close to perfect, but it's not perfect. On this one here, it's drawn pretty well, 336 days. On this one here, if we are looking at 336 days, it again does put us towards the end of this year, right? So it's just really interesting to see how we could be looking at similar timeframes for these pumps to go from the bottom of the range to the top. And it also is very synonymous with Bitcoin. I mean, this is just what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is the asset that, it defies all odds. It goes from really bearish to really bullish, seemingly extremely quickly. And when it does, the market, it just explodes upwards, right? And it is the typical situation that we've seen play out so many times, where traditional finance pumps and then Bitcoin pumps. And right now, traditional finance is pumping. What more do you want me to say, guys? I'm only telling you what I'm seeing here. I'd love to be more bearish because of things like the long and short ratio. Don't get me wrong, it is definitely something that concerns me, but when every other factor is still going in Bitcoin's favor, when Bitcoin is still, yes, granted, we're not at $31,000, but we're still at 27. We're still doing really well. There's only this block of resistance ahead of us, and we're at it right now. We're at the resistance right now. We only need to pump by 5%, and then there's going to be no reason to be bearish on the short-term chart as well. If we can pump up by 5%, there will be no more resistance on this short-term chart as far as I'm concerned. The next resistance range for me will be up at $31,000, and if we can break all this heavy resistance, then who's to say that 31k is going to be the actual level that just sends Bitcoin back down to 10k? Probably not, guys. If we break all this resistance, I don't think 31k is going to be a problem for Bitcoin, and I think we're going to be able to get much higher. This is a really, really big deal, right? We're not there yet. We do still have the resistance ahead of us, but we are at the door of it, right? Previously, we were quite far away from these levels. We had to pump up by a whole $10,000 just to get here. Now, we're at this point. We are at the place where the battle happens, and guys, if you're not prepared for it to take advantage of it right now, I don't know what to say to you. You've had so much time to do it. We've been sideways for so long. If your head hasn't been in books, if you've not been studying the Four Flies Academy or what have you, you are putting yourself at disadvantage. You've already put yourself at disadvantages. It's not too late. You can pull this stuff back, but you need to make sure you are educating yourself and staying on top of the market, keeping that pulse on the market, even during times like this, because when these breakouts do come, and they always do come, you're going to find yourself yet again losing focus in the 2-3 months where it gets a little bit boring. Then the price action returns and you're not even ready to trade it. And that is not the position that you want to find yourself in, right? That is why I keep telling you guys about taking advantages of the bonuses bonuses, or just looking through the books and courses that you've got available to you, the free stuff, the stuff that I'm offering, whatever it may be, so that you can have yourself ready to go. If you want these bonuses to deploy into the market, if you want to be able to trade with 30k more money in the market, just throw it into the market. Any profits are yours to keep. Now is the time to get yourself set up for stuff like that, because when that volatility comes, it's going to be too late, right? And I think that we are fairly close to it. You know, if we're looking at the dollar continuing to rally up, right? I mean, you know, eventually it's going to have to find resistance. Eventually it's going to have to start trailing down. I don't know what's going to happen here. Maybe we punch in a lower high because we set a high here. Maybe the next high is lower and then we end up moving lower. That would be great for Bitcoin. But maybe the dollar has to keep going up. Maybe the dollar has to find some resistance at these higher levels. That would be completely fine too. But the dollar is in a downtrend, right? So the default price action is still going to be to the downside. And so if we do end up continuing to fall to the downside and forming some sort of descending triangle that breaks down in, you know, early 2024, right when the halving happens for Bitcoin, this actually looks like something that's so likely for the dollar, guys, to you know, to play out like this. And by the way, MDX Crypto, I remember him, you know, saying something very similar to this. He didn't say exactly like what I just said, but what he said about the dollar is, I mean, and it's just realistic, is that the dollar does just annoying, weird, boring stuff like this, you know, because it's the dollar. It's not a fucking tradable asset, really. And you know, it's not like, it is obviously very tradable, but it's not like, I mean, Bitcoin or gold or something. You know, the dollar is gonna move sideways a lot of the time, right? But when it moves sideways, that means that there are these big times where it's just gonna, you know, it's gonna have to drop. It's gonna have these uptrends, but it's also gonna have these downtrends, and these downtrends are where we can make a lot of money on Bitcoin. And if we've already moved up, then, you know, it may be possible that the next move is going to be a move down. And, you know, when Bitcoin is just in such a good position, traditional finance is in such a good position, I totally understand why there are so many reasons to be bearish in this market, and I agree with a lot of them too, because they are strong reasons. But at the same time, I'm just seeing more factors, and I'm seeing stronger factors that historically have been much more significant for Bitcoin that are still pointing to the upside. And that's why I'm staying in my long position. That's why I'm continuing to look for these opportunities to the upside in the market here. And that's why I'm eagerly watching to see what happens as we start to approach these resistance levels right now in this market. So super, super hot time, super, super exciting. If you have enjoyed this video, do me a favor and smash up those likes. I'm going to be in the altcoin channel right after this one. I have some really cool videos planned for you guys right now that I'm about to go through with you. So if you are interested, check them out with that top link in the description. I mean, if you want to trade on the platforms that I'm using, check them out with the links in the description here. No KYC on BingX. Also, Prime XBT does not require KYC, and they also allow you to trade these traditional finance markets like gold and indices and so on. But you're also getting stocks right here on BingX. So, I mean, it is a really, really good platform just because of the trading options that are available. And like I said, Bybit, you know, up to 30k in bonuses, 0% spot trading. You can just buy coins for free without paying fees. It is absolutely crazy. This is definitely still the best platform in the world right now, in my opinion. So definitely worth considering to, yeah, get those bonuses. All you got to do is deposit and start trading, and they will give you that bonus in your account, you know, and you're getting much more with the rest of these links. Yeah, so definitely do check them out if you do want to get those bonuses. With that, guys, I will leave you to it. I hope you have enjoyed this one. If you have, you know what to do, and I'll see you all on the altcoin channel right after this one. Cheers.